We interrupt this program for an important announcement. The giant locusts have reached the Chicago South Side and nearby suburbs. Do not panic.
The topic of today's video is some 1950s films I enjoyed as a kid that had giant insects and spiders. Giant locusts are featured in The Beginning of the End. Not to be confused with The Beginning or the End, which on more than one occasion was inaccurately listed in the TV guide. I waited all week for Saturday and then the wrong film would come on. I took that TV guide and tore it in a million pieces. And now back to the giant locusts. Obviously, they filmed actual grasshoppers and then combined them with shots of people with buildings or items or whatever. Some scenes worked well. This grasshopper looks like it's actually there outside the woman's window. The breaking of the window also seems like it's actually happening. Other scenes were not as believable, but they were not immersion breaking, as the scenes would not last that long before they would go on to another scene. One thing they did not have in this film was any effective direct contact with the insects and the people. By that, I mean they didn't have any shots of the locusts jumping on, grabbing, or biting anyone. The deaths of the people were implied. The flaws I mentioned were minor and did not interfere with my enjoyment of the film, with its numerous exciting and dramatic action scenes. The next two films, Tarantula and Earth vs. the Spider, filmed actual creatures, in this case spiders, to use as their monsters. In my opinion, Tarantula is the better of the two films. I think the special effects succeeded in conveying the notion that these monstrous creatures were walking around causing chaos. For some strange reason, all these giant monsters love to peep in windows at women. When men are inside, they just walk on by. Do you think colorizing makes the film any better? I'll give you another comparison. What do you think? Put in the comments. I prefer to watch a film the way it was originally filmed. In the Locust film, there's a number of times that you have this sequence of shots. A monster is present. A person or people see the monster. There's a close-up of the monster's face, and then back to the face of a terrified victim. Now a similar, but I think improved upon series of shots in Tarantula. The giant spider is attacking a group of horses. A guy comes out and sees the spider. Back to the close-up of the spider's face. And now the improvement. You see not only the guy's terrified face, but the spider's fangs. Earth vs. the Spider has a sequence that doesn't work as well. A guy sees the spider. Then it looks like they put in a fake spider. A close-up of the spider's face followed by the spider leg trying to get the woman. Now let's look at two films with low-budget monsters that weren't so convincing. The director of the first film said they literally spent $2 at the dime store to make their monster. Around here they called it the 5 and 10 cent store. I don't know what this monster is supposed to be. It wraps people in a web and sucks their blood. Is it supposed to be a spider? I don't even know if the makers of the film knew what it was. But to give them credit, there was one scene with horrifying situation and eerie music that made it quite creepy.
It's sucking her blood.
Now let's look at an example of a film where it doesn't matter how good the acting or the plot is, that the creature is so ridiculous looking that it ruins any immersion in the film. Back to giant insect films with The Deadly Mantis. The shots of the monster were primarily props they built that could be manipulated. Most of the scenes with the mantis are fairly good. Scenes with the mantis flying have trouble with portraying the wing movement. Snap quiz time. What did I tell you that these giant monsters all like to do? And now a trailer for 1950s science fiction and horror nightmare.
Don't make me wait.
I better not foul up this video or it could be the kiss of death.
Keep watching the sky.
They're after all of us! I
nuts?
Anybody found out yet what's going on in this building?
That would be illogical.
Find out, you must watch this video linked in the description section. And now my number one favorite 1950s giant insect film. Anyone that's watched my top 7 1950s sci-fi films already knows what it is. If you haven't seen it, check out the link in the description section. And the number one film is... Another film with monsters built as props, giant ants. At least this monster wasn't peeping through a window at the woman. I thought the special effects were very well done, intelligently integrated in the film, so I never lost being engrossed and immersed in the story. They used a realistic situation, a sandstorm, to somewhat obscure the ants, and also cut back and forth between shots so you would focus on the tense situation rather than trying to decide whether the ant looks realistic or not. This scene is more immersive and dramatic than any of those films that used actual living creatures. It appears the ant actually grabs the guy with its mouth. This ant not only breaks the window like the grasshopper did, but its head enters into the room where the guy is to grab him. In my opinion, the part where one of the main characters, played by James Whitmore, tries to save 2 kids from the ants is much more exciting and dramatic than anything that could have been done with shots using real ants. Last year, there were rumors that there might be a remake of this film. I hope these 2 guys don't have anything to do with it. The so-called brains behind the Game of Thrones, Dan and Dave. Can you imagine how they would film the climatic battle with the ants down in the sewer?
Start digging, you guys.
I must be near the nest.